to order the meeting, and a quorum is present. It is 5:03 p.m. Member Cole is absent. And is there any public or any comment on closed session results?
No comment tonight.
Okay, the board will now recess into closed session.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Test, test, 1, 2. got a no on the B flat from MCAP. They said no to funding it.
Okay. It is 6 p.m. and we have a quorum present, minus our board member, Kolb Senior, is absent. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have Victoria Parker to lead us in that. If you would please stand.
Please stand, right hand over your heart, ready begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Victoria. Sweet. Okay, reporting actions resulting from closed session. In closed session tonight, the board took action to approve a settlement agreement on the Juneteenth holiday claims regarding CSEA versus San Lorenzo Unified School District with the Cal Superior Court of Alameda, case number 22CV005456. On the motion was by member Benjamin and seconded by, where are we here? Yep, I have too many papers. Okay, here we go. Yeah, thank you. By member Polito and seconded by member Benjamin, and the vote was unanimous, aside from member Cole Senior being absent. The board, also in closed session, the board retained an legal directed counsel to initiate legal action on social media legislation. And this by unanimous vote, this was a unanimous vote. The action, the defendant, and the other particulars shall, once formally commenced, be disclosed to any person upon inquiry, unless to do so would jeopardize the district's ability to services of process on one or more unserved parties, or that to do so would jeopardize the district's ability to conclude existing settlement negotiations to its advantage. The member as voted by member Benjamin and seconded by member Polito, and it was unanimous. Member Kolb Senior being absent. Also in closed session, the board tonight approved OAH 202211-002 on a motion by member Benjamin and seconded by member Polito, voting unanimous again, with member Kolb Senior being absent. Approval of agenda, additions, deletions, and corrections. Do I have a motion?
Also moved.
Moved by member Benjamin, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Member Polito, second. Any discussion? Nope. Let's go for the vote. Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Caputo? Kolb Senior is absent. Polito?
Aye.
And Stroh votes aye. Recognitions is our great time. Wonderful time. We love to do this. And this is recognitions and presentations. Lilac Employee of the Month, Christina Torres for classified, and Leah Fry for certificated. Presentation is by our principal, Jameson Reineck, and he will further give a building literacy through mathematics.
All right. Well, President Stroh, Superintendent McCowan, and members of the board, it is my honor to present to you Lilac Schools Classified and Certificated Employees of the Month. And first up is classified employee Mrs. Christina Torres. It is my pleasure to present Mrs. Christina Torres with this award this evening for Classified Employee of the Month. Mrs. Torres works as an administrative secretary at Lilac School and has done so for the past 8 years. For 24 years, she's worked in the Valley Center-Pauma Unified School District, not only as an administrative secretary, but also as a health attendance clerk and a duty supervisor. In addition to Lilac School, Mrs. Torres has worked at the middle school, Palma, the primary, and the elementary school. And Mrs. Torres lives with her husband, Jose, who's here tonight. Can you give him a hand? He's a good man. He comes to support his wife. And they have 2 amazing sons, Jesse and Louie. And I think they have a turtle. Do you have a turtle?
Yes.
What's the turtle? What's the turtle's name?
We just call him Tortor.
Tortor. Tortor is not here tonight. She always comes to work focused, hardworking, efficient, and takes responsibility in everything she does. Our administrative secretaries play an important role in making sure our campuses have what they need, are up to date, prepared, organized, safe, and run smoothly so teachers, staff can do their job. Mrs. Torres, in English or Spanish, being bilingual, helps to create a professional environment where students, staff, and families can get what they need, making it a place everybody wants to be. It doesn't matter if it's last minute, Mrs. Torres is always willing to stop and help a fellow staff member in need of assistance. Mrs. Torres is the kind of person any educator would love to work with and can depend on. The entire Lilac School staff and students are fortunate to work with her, and I couldn't do my job as a principal effectively without the support of Mrs. Torres. When I asked Mrs. Torres what she likes best about her job, she simply said, everything. I just love working with students and all my coworkers. The words her colleagues use to describe her are, I'm grateful to be working beside Christina. She is a very hard worker, and I have learned so much from her on how the school runs to taking attendance. She handles everything so well. Christina is the heart and soul at Lilac School. Her work ethic is admirable. Christina has been the rock of our school, holding it all together with the changes on campus over the past couple years. She's held it all together, even while dealing with her own current family challenges. And lastly, another staff member said, Christina Torres is amazing. She is incredible at her job. I have never seen anyone be able to multitask like her and does it so smoothly and flawlessly. She remembers all the students and their parents. It's just incredible how her mind works. She leaves me in awe. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Christina Torres as our Classified Employee of the Month. Hold on, I got a present for you. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. That's right.
Thank you very much. Those kind of words were awesome. Thank you. I really do enjoy working for the district. Been here for 24 years. Lilac, thank you so much. Thank you.
Can I say something?
You go first.
Christina, you really are amazing at your job. Like, you keep that office running like a well-oiled machine, and I know he really couldn't do his job without you, and the previous principals either. Like, you're really gifted at your job, so thank you. Yeah.
And I was going to say similar, and we have the privilege of getting to do walkthroughs, and they are all absolutely wonderful and fun to do. But I was like, you're off. It's amazing. It is beautiful. And I know that you are a team, but you are a huge part of that, and having it look so welcoming and happy and cheery and organized. Thank you.
All right. And now, Certificated Employee of the Month, Mrs. Leah Fry. If you could come join me up here at the podium. It is my pleasure to present Mrs. Leah Fry with the award this evening for Certificated Employee of the Month. This is her second year at Lilac School and in the district after being hired as a counselor for Lilac School. Before working at Lilac, she worked at the San Diego Regional Center as a service coordinator for individuals with developmental disabilities. And prior to that, she worked as a behavior technician for elementary age students. Mrs. Fry lives with her husband, Jake, who's here tonight. Can you give Jake a hand? Good husband, representing his wife. Good job. And their very spoiled, precious 5-year-old Australian cattle dog and 2 cats. What's the dog's name? Tonto. Not here tonight. Mrs. Fry's love of working with students, her enthusiasm, and dedication to her craft is very evident as a school counselor. She is also our TPC representative and our 504 coordinator. She believes it is her responsibility to create an environment where all feelings and emotions are validated and all growth is celebrated. Mrs. Fry is a true role model and understands it takes a village to help children grow and to feel comfortable and safe in our school environment. Since I arrived at Lilac School a year ago, I have been so impressed with her level of passion for supporting students' social and emotional wellness, goal setting for students, and high expectations that allows her to go above and beyond to support each student she works with. She is always willing to step in, is a problem solver, and collaborates well with others, and has a can-do attitude, which I really appreciate. When I asked Mrs. Fry what she likes best about her job, she said, "What I like best about my job is being able to help and support students and staff amidst changes and challenges both inside a school and out. I also love being in classrooms to get to know students more on campus, and the impact I am trying to make is to be a thoughtful, encouraging, and consistent presence on campus to help students feel seen and supported. I want to make an impact on all students' social and emotional learning by the whole class and the small group lessons I teach to the Lilac students. Mrs. Fry is a highly valued member of the Lilac School team, and she has the utmost respect from her fellow staff and families and is a model of being a professional. Her colleagues had this to say about her. Leah is always willing to help kids who are having a bad day or having issues with schools or friends. She takes extra time to walk around and check in on students. She is so personable. She has really made a huge impact at school. Leah is always stepping up to make the school the best it can be. She goes above and beyond her counselor duties to create a kind, friendly activity and events on campus weekly. And finally, another staff member said, Leah Fry is amongst the most recognized and loved staff members among the students at Lilac. She diligently supports staff and is very well respected and trusted by them. You can always find Mrs. Fry either collaborating with teachers, teaching a social emotional lesson in a classroom, running a group lesson, or supporting a student one-on-one. Every school needs a Mrs. Fry. Please join me in congratulating Mrs. Leah Fry as our Certificated Employee of the Month. What a pleasure.
Well, thank you so much to the board. I'm so honored, and everyone at Lilac that came. I don't get emotional at all, but I'm feeling it right now. And I love my job. I can say that 100%. I love the school that I'm at. I'm so grateful to be in this district and just to be able to help these students that we have at our school. It's just the best, so thank you.
I'll just add one thing for Mrs. Fry. I remember the first time I met you when you were getting ready to go on the bus tour and came up with just a beaming smile and kind of knew right off the bat that you were going to make a difference for our students. And, you know, the fact that our students are in such need for social emotional help and well-being, and our staffs are also. And I know that you help the whole environment at Lilac. So congratulations after, 2 years of hard work, and you're really deserving of this, and we're glad to have you on our staff.
Mm-hmm. Can I say something as well? Thank you, Leah, as a dad, and you worked with my son, Simeon. I get emotional, but you made a huge difference for him with his own learning challenges and stuff, and he loved you. He's bummed that you're not at the middle school where he's at, but
please don't take her to the middle school.
But thank you. Like, you really are good at your job, and I appreciate you investing in the kids. So.
All right. Well, next up, President Stroh, Superintendent McCowan, and members of the board. Next, it is my honor to conduct a presentation on how Lilac School builds literacy through mathematics. And I'd like to thank my students, my staff, my teachers, and a special thank you to my instructional coach at Lilac School, Mrs. Vanessa Norris, who's here. She's in the yellow back there. Hi, Vanessa. And she and I collaborated together and created this presentation. So thank you, Vanessa. I appreciate it. This is why our focus at Lilac is on literacy and mathematics currently. It's our number one academic goal. And through this quote, you can see that mathematics is the most difficult content area material to read because there are more concepts per word, per sentence and per paragraph than in any other subject. And the mixture of words, numerals, letters, symbols, and graphics requires the reader to shift from one type of vocabulary to another. We at Lilac School realize that the integration of literature does provide a real-world context for students to fully understand mathematical concepts. And according to the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, the use of children's literature during math instruction helps students to value mathematics, shows students how math is used in everyday lives, develops problem-solving and reasoning skills, and literature encourages students to use the language in order to communicate. Literature integration not only strengthens our mathematical conceptual understanding, but also our procedural knowledge of math. And it also reinforces reading skills such as main ideas, details, and summarizing. What you'll see when you come to Lilac School classrooms are effective math practices such as anchor charts, gestures, GLAD strategies, and manipulatives. But in addition, it's important to call out that procedural knowledge, fluency using basic arithmetic like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, being efficient, being accurate, and how to get the correct answer are still being taught to our students and are hugely important and necessary in our classrooms. But just teaching procedural fluency and how math works is not enough. Students also need to know where and why, as well as they need to know where these happen to be successful. Anchor charts are posters that are co-constructed with students and teachers and includes visuals, steps, and strategies for students to refer to. And they're used side by side with language development. Gestures with face, hand, body movement helps to convey meaning and content recall. Guided language acquisition design, or GLAD strategies, such as chants, poems, songs, and with pictorial representations, help to develop vocabulary and language skills in math instruction, but are also wonderful in all subject areas. And using manipulatives or 3D models and tools ranging from counting bears to fraction stacks, supporting abstract ideas such as learning more than, less than, or equivalence, also helps transition to more advanced mathematics like algebra and geometry. Lilac students need to explore math ideas with manipulatives to build concrete background knowledge in tandem with developing procedural knowledge. Now, this is a little difficult to see, and I'll use my spotlight on there, but here is a CASP test release test question for math grade 3. This question focuses on students' ability to conceptually understand fractions, but also to communicate their reasoning, which is a common type of question on state assessments. Notice here, right here, and I'll read the question to you, that Jamie draws this shape. She says, I've divided the shape into 8 parts, and I shaded one part, so 1/8 of the shape is shaded. Is Jamie correct? Select the statement that explains why. Now, you notice that this is not a straightforward question, and reasoning is required, and this is what we need to get our kids ready for. Now, with that said, it's important to know that on state assessments in mathematics, they do test basic procedural skills and traditional arithmetic, but not all the questions. Less than half of the questions a student will experience on a state test in mathematics now will be a straightforward procedural skill or, typical arithmetic question like they were 10 plus years ago. Less than half. Another key component of our work is to expand our school-to-home connection in our entire district. And this year, we held a Lilac Family Learning Night, which was conducted district-wide and led by our instructional coaches. Thank you, Vanessa Norris. where we established activities and common language for families through games that supports mathematical vocabulary and building procedural knowledge. This built the link of our homes and schools, both face-to-face and virtually. We need to continue these types of events. We need to get our community involved. And not only did they establish the importance at these events that students having basic procedural fluency and arithmetic skills, but they also sent the message at these events, or at this event, the importance of working in tandem with developing conceptual math understanding and critical thinking skills. And one of the best things that families can do at home with mathematics is to focus on developing procedural knowledge and arithmetic skills and use games to make it fun. Next, I'd like to share with you a very effective strategy that really gets at what we're talking about here, and it's called a data talk. And what we're about to look at is data around growth mindset of students, having a growth mindset for grades K through 3. Hi, Principal Ruiz. How you doing? Hey, so when you look at this visual representation, what do you notice and what could this mean?
I noticed a decrease.
Okay, you're noticing decrease, right? Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Principal Kavitli. All right, so I'm showing you a different visual up there on the same topic, but what do you notice and what might be a takeaway?
I noticed that when students start in kindergarten, it shows that almost 100% of them have a positive growth mindset. Yet sadly, for every year after that, that percentage of students with a positive growth mindset goes down.
Great, thank you so much. And Principal Camacho, when we say put these side by side, these two representations, and compare them, what might be where they're the same and where might they be different? Wonderful, great answer. And you notice how here we're using literacy skills when we do this data talk. We're reading, we're speaking, we're listening. We could even add in a writing component right now, correct? So know that these charts are showing that growth mindset is decreasing over the grades, and this is important for us to think about. This is real data. What might cause that? What might cause that? Is it that the rigor and the expectations of the standards and the work is getting more challenging? Is it their experiences at home? You know, what is it? So this is something we have to research further. And we at Lilac School are intentional in supporting all students having a positive growth mindset. And lastly, I'd like to share this quote with you and say a final quote here and make a statement that math as a content area includes the development of literacy skills such as reading, writing, listening, and speaking as they relate to the developing functional and applicable skills in math. And as I stated previously, Board, we still do address procedural knowledge, fluency, efficiency, using basic arithmetic, being accurate, getting the correct answer, because that's important and that's necessary, but it's not enough. At Lilac, we understand the importance of helping our students work in tandem and balance this with developing conceptual math understanding, problem solving, and reasoning skills so that we ensure their success. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Great explanation. It was good to see
Yeah.
that and having your students out there answer
Yeah,
those
thank you.
questions. Quite impressive.
And President Stroh, we have a lot of work to do. You know, there's a lot going on. You notice it wasn't you know, you saw that release test question. You saw
Right.
all these things we're trying to do. It's a lot right now. And I think, to be fair, teachers and staff and schools, we're trying to figure out how do we make it effective and presentable to our students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you're headed in the right direction, and
thank you.
I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Well, and it's the entire districts, all the principals, you know, Stephanie McIntyre, who's leading our efforts in curriculum instruction, Mark Halewood, Ron has made this a priority in our work, and pretty much, I would say every principals meeting, every leadership meeting we've had, we've always been talking about this kind of work in mathematics, so
Yeah. Teamwork.
it's a priority.
Thank you so much. Great
Thank you.
presentation.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to our business portion of the meeting. So if you came for the recognitions, and you are welcome to stay. However, if you would like to leave, we thank you for coming, but don't feel you need to stay on to the next section. But congratulations to both of you. It was wonderful. Okay, and we're going to take about a 3-minute intermission right now, so. gaveling back in, continuing with our business meeting. The next is request to address the board and.
We have no requests tonight.
Okay,
Mr.
so
President-
moving
Mr.
forward,
President.
no request to address the board. We will move on to our consent agenda and approval of the consent agenda items. Do I have a motion?
Okay, well, this month I was in charge of reviewing the purchase orders. I reviewed them, they were all up to, snuff. And so I move that we approve the consent agenda along with the updated personnel list.
Okay, all right. And do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and any further discussion? Any consent items? Okay, none being, we'll take the vote. Member Benjamin.
Aye.
Caputo. Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito.
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. Moving to our superintendent division, and we'll have Superintendent McCowan give his report.
Okay, thank you very much. First thing I'd like to bring to our attention is something new that we've been doing for the last about 3 or 4 weeks. We are working with a social media person, Mr. Jeff Pack, and he is helping us to get more and more of our information on a daily basis out to our community and to our students. So here's just kind of a show here where we have, Twitter, things posted on Twitter, Facebook, and then also on that first one, which is our website app. And on the slide there, you can see that you can add this to your phone by downloading the app. Look for the Stay Connection on our web page, and I won't read each one of those balloons there or that have the words there, but that's how you get onto our page, and you can follow us on a daily basis. So hopefully we'll have more and more coming out as our principals are excited about putting their school's information out to our community. Next slide. So the last over spring break and the first 2 days of this week, I had a great opportunity to do a little bit of traveling, and the nice part about it was a lot of professional development for me, getting to go to different schools and then up to Sacramento. And I appreciate the board letting me go on these trips. And the nice part about them is they were sponsored by this first one, AXA, Associated School Administrators. We went up to Sacramento. We spent 2 days, one meeting as administrators and school site officials, going over some of the budget things coming up. And then we also spent time visiting our local assembly people and legislators. So one of the 5 main key points that we tried to stress on our visit was robust and stable school funding, preserving the music and arts instructional materials block grant that was given last year, our safe and modern schools and getting funds to provide those for our students, concerns on our staff shortage, recruitment and retention, and things that we can do as a state to help retain the great educators that we have and get more. And then streamline the accountability, which you hear us do a lot of reports at our board meetings. We want the accountability, but we don't want to have our people spending quite as much time as we're doing, having to do audits and pull all the stuff in for the state. So that was a really nice trip. The other trip that I was able to do over our spring break was sponsored by the U.S. Army Reserve, and I was able to visit 6 schools in Mississippi and talk to their students about opportunities that they can have after school, after their school is done, specifically in the Army. It also gave me a great opportunity to go in about close to probably 100 classrooms and see some education process in another state, which was very interesting, and also gave me a chance to sit down with 2 superintendents and one of them even with their cabinet and just kind of compare notes on how our schools are similar and different. I would tell you that the similarity is the schools I went to, I saw the same care and love that our educators express or fill our students with. I could see that in Mississippi. So I would like to say that I think educators and their big hearts transcend not just California, not just Valley Center, but throughout our states. So this was an excellent trip. Mr. Jim Burnett, who is one of the sponsors on this trip, will return to the area probably in May or June, and will be able to give out 10 Minuteman scholarships, which provide for some of these students to go to whatever college they get accepted to, completely paid, and then they would be in the Army Reserve afterwards. So probably close to $1 million worth of financial aid just to this one general area. So it was really quite an experience, and appreciate getting to go. Next here we have congratulations. We had our middle school and high school advanced jazz bands placed first at the 23rd Annual Aztec Jazz Festival, which I know they're very excited about. Next. And I would tell you that you can see all of my announcements. They are out on Twitter, they are out on our app, and they are on our Facebook. So this next one, we have the JAG auction coming up, and I can't say JAG auction and not thank Julie Stroh and her team, because they have been putting this JAG auction on. Yeah, and I'll emphasize team, because she's got a lot of great people working with her. The number, I believe 26th, because the first one we did was at Orange Glen, and we've had 25 here. So this is a great event Saturday night. I encourage you all to go from 6 o'clock. We start the live auction. We'll have a lot of fun. And just really look forward. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And many of you probably know, but our foundation is an umbrella organization. So each one of the different clubs, sports, the band, choir, whatever items they bring to the auction and the tickets they sell, they make that money personally for their group. So it's really the foundation providing this opportunity for each one of our different groups attached to the high school to raise money for our students' events. So it is a great evening, and I encourage you to go. Next slide. So here we have first grade. They chose to take eggs and colored eggs and make it into a STEM lesson. And you can see some kids working there, and how many eggs can they stack. So that's our primary Bs, turning Easter into a little bit of a math lesson. Next slide. We've got Easter egg hunt over at the primary school once again, and just a fun time to have the students outside after all that rain, enjoying the sun and having fun. Next slide. Here we have the Easter Bunny, who actually showed up down at Pauma School, and you can see them there, and kind of keeping an eye on Ricardo down there at the and having a great time with the kids. I wonder who the Easter Bunny was. I'm sure it was the Easter Bunny. Next up. Around campus, here's our road runners. They know how to hunt and gather, and you can see them out. This is Mrs. Higman's class having a great time. And here's over at the Lilac Lizard Fun, and we have, up the top there, that is Mrs. Flores's class, getting some certificates. And at the bottom there, or at the far right, we have Mr. and Mrs. I can't read it from here, but I'm thinking it's Torres. Am I right? Torres. They did the barbecue there, and they do the barbecue at every event at Lilac, and pretty good hamburger. So great fun down at the Lilac School. Next. These are our Thunderhawks. This is one of the track meets that they went to, and for us, it's really important that our middle school participates in athletic programs or different kinds of competition within the middle school schools within the county. Very few schools do this. In fact, this is in San Marcos. We usually have San Marcos and also the Poway schools to compete with. So we are very proud of the fact that we still keep our intramural sort of sports going at our 8th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school. A great event for our kids to be at, and just readies them for CIF sports. And I think that might be my last slide. No, I have one back. Oh, this is our Peanut Butter and Jelly Club up here at the Jaguar Giving Back. I think the Peanut Butter and Jelly Club, if I remember right, I hope I don't get this wrong, started about 7 or 8 years ago with Susanna Cook and the counseling department, and they make sandwiches that they then take down to the homeless shelters, I believe it is. So great job with our Jaguars there giving back. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Superintendent McCowan. And we'll move forward on B, Resolution 2022-2023-07 to recognize Teacher Appreciation Week, which is May 8th through the 12th, 2023, and the Day of the Teacher, which is May 10th, 2023 this year. Do I have a motion?
Also moved.
Okay, Member Benjamin, do I have a second? Member Caputo, and any discussion? Okay, for the vote, Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Caputo? Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito?
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. Resolution 2022-2023-8, recognizing Classified School Employee Week as of May 21st through the 27th, and 2023, and to honor our classified staff. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Member Polito, second?
I'll second.
Member Benjamin, any discussion? I'd just like to say, I think all these things are so great to honor our great employees and teamwork, so it's wonderful for both teachers and classified. So let's move for the vote. Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Caputo? Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito?
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. Moving forward to D, Board will conduct a second reading of the following revised board policies and administrative regulations. Revised AR 5148-2, students before and after school programs. New BP 5148-2, students before and after school programs. Do I have a motion?
Also moved.
Okay, and a second. Any discussion regarding this? Okay. Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Member Caputo? Aye. Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito?
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. Educational Services, new high school course, Data Sciences. Do I have a motion?
Also moved.
Member Benjamin, second? Caputo. Any discussion? In reading it, I think it sounds like a great, yeah.
Yeah, I
program.
think it's a good opportunity for our students as they get out of the Algebra 1 to go into an Algebra 2 level course.
Right.
That has a lot more applied type math with it, with the statistics and everything. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be exciting. It's the first year, obviously, that we'll be teaching it.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing the results from it.
Reading that, it sounded exciting, yeah, to apply that. Okay, for the vote, Member Benjamin.
Aye.
Member Caputo. Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito.
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. New high school course, AP Art and Design, 2D. This is a first reading, and this item will be brought back before the board at the meeting on May 11th, at which time the board will consider it for its approval. AG Improvement Grant Update, and this is a presentation by our Assistant Superintendent, Mark Haywood.
Thank you. Thank you, President Stroh, members of the board. Tonight, I'd like to provide you with a brief required update regarding our A through G Completion Improvement Grant Program. The board was presented with the initial program plan on May 12, 2022, and following CDE requirements, we will be providing you with an annual update tonight. So just to review, the A through G Improvement Grant is designed to provide additional supports to LEAs such as ours to help increase the number of California high school pupils, particularly unduplicated pupils who graduate from high school with A through G eligibility requirements completed for admission to CSU and UC schools. The grant is made up of two parts. One is the A through G Access Grant, which was awarded to districts in 2020, that was awarded to districts that in 2020-21 had an overall A through G completion rate of less than 67%, which was our district. And the A through G Learning Loss Mitigation Grant, which is an allocation given to districts based on the number of unduplicated students in grades 9 through 12 in the year 2020-2021. Here you can see a overview of our district A through G completion rates. And just to give background information, an A through G completion rate would be a student who is meeting requirements to attend a UC or CSU college or university, which would include mathematics, language arts, science, lab sciences, arts, language, and lots of different areas. So these are courses that exist at our high school. And here you can see the A through G rates for some of the past years. In 2021-22, a 39.9% A through G completion rate. And then going all the way back to 2018-2019, which was a 54.1 completion rate. One thing you may notice is that our A through G completion rates have declined since 2018-2019. This is the purpose of this grant, and is something that is common throughout the state of California, where impacts of things like the pandemic and school closures have seen to have an impact on student A through G completion rates. So the purpose of this grant is to offset and help build those completion rates back to a higher level, such as the rate we had in 2018-2019. You can also see a breakdown of some of the unduplicated groups that this grant targets: English learners, students with disabilities, and students who are socially economically disadvantaged. The A through G Completion Improvement Grant, it has an allocation of $261,254, and spending was taking place this year and will carry on into next year and the year following. Here's a very brief update of some of the steps that we have taken as a district this year and some of the steps that we're planning on taking next year. This year, using these grant funds, additional counselor support was added to Valley Center High School, specifically to work with students in meeting those A through G requirements and providing additional support. Staff professional development and materials have also been provided. After-school tutoring and supports have been made available to students. Going into this summer and previously, summer professional development will be available to teachers. And one great example of that is our AP psychology course that was added to the high school, where that teacher went to a program called AP by the Sea to help prepare them, reviewing the curriculum, receiving training, and having all the materials they need for that course to be added this year to the high school. Next year, one of our biggest plans is to bring an A through G on-track monitoring system to Valley Center High School. And what that will allow us to do is, currently, we have some incredible counselors in our district, and in order to truly monitor whether a student is on an A through G track, a lot of it is hands-on work with the counselor. And we want to give those counselors and parents and students just a little extra help with that and use the power of technology. So this system will hopefully allow us to do more ongoing monitoring, and even at the completion of a 9th grade student's year, be able to give that family and that student some information about where they are in progress of meeting A through G requirements. Next year, we're also hoping to add additional parent workshops and then continue to expand our course offerings at our high schools that meet A through G requirements. And then one last item that we're continuing to learn more and explore is the possibility of supporting unduplicated students in their AP test fees. So the possibility of either being able to reduce those fees using funds from this grant. Are there any questions related to the A through G grant?
Well, I had a question in regards to the parent workshop. How does that roll out? What is that?
So, I think as we've been moving through this year, a lot of our parent workshops have focused on kind of college applications and really targeting students who are juniors and seniors. Mm-hmm. What we want to add for next year is more workshops that target students at the 9th and 10th grade level, even maybe 8th grade level, kind of giving more information about what the A through G requirements are. And again, hopefully how a parent themselves can even monitor the progress that a student's making.
Oh, great. Get them early. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Mark, can I just add one thing? One thing I want to point out is the hard work that Mark and Aaron Little, his counselors, and the whole high school staff, along with our continuation school with Alicia, are doing to bring new courses forward that will help keep our students on the A through G A through G pathway, like the data science and also the AP art class that we're looking at. A lot of these courses help keep students along that pathway that will lead to either a college or career afterwards. So the high school, great job. I know it's a team effort to try to bring these numbers up and make our students just a little bit more competitive as they leave our school site. So great job, everybody.
Nice, thank you.
And I do hope that when we look at this next year in our next annual update, you'll see already some improvement in those numbers based on the actions taken this year.
Great, that'd be great. And then we'll move into the art, music, and instructional materials block grant, presented again by Assistant
I
Superintendent.
get all the fun
Mark
ones this evening.
Palewood,
So I'd like to
Doing a good job.
I'd like to provide the board some information related to this block grant so that our district has received, and kind of what the grant is, some of the circumstances related to this grant, and the goals and some of the things that we're looking to move forward with related to the funds that we'll be receiving. One thing to note is there has been some confusion in the public related to different grants that are going on right now with different propositions. The Arts, Music, Instructional Materials Block Grant was approved by Assembly Bill 181 and then eventually revised in a later Assembly Bill. And that's just not to be confused with the arts funding allocations that are being provided through Proposition 98.
That we voted, yeah.
So the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Grant, although called Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials, does not target just one area. So arts and music are definitely incorporated into this grant, but it does target all instructional areas in our district. The 5 primary areas that this grant focuses on, you can see here. They are obtaining standards-aligned professional development and instructional materials, obtaining instructional materials and professional development aligned to best practices for improving school climate, developing diverse book collections and obtaining culturally relevant texts in both English and a pupil's home language to support independent reading, and that would be things like site-based school and classroom libraries. Operational costs, including but not limited to retirement and healthcare cost increases, and then also, as needed, continuing costs related to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our district is hopefully going to receive an allocation of just over $2 million, well, quite considerably over $2 million, $2,244,703. That is the initial allocation that we have been informed of, but I would like to just make sure the board is aware that although that number has been given to us, as mentioned in some other presentations and Mr. McCowan's visit to the state, it is possible that allocation will be adjusted, and at this time we do not know whether that will be the amount that our district will be receiving. Despite this, the requirements of this grant do ask that we present to the board a plan for possible expenditures of the funds of this grant at a regularly scheduled board meeting. And the funds for this grant can be spent moving from now, or from the moment the board addresses this expenditure plan, all the way through the 25-26 school year. Here's a quick overview of our expenditure plan. I won't go into all of the pieces, but the areas that we would be looking at would be standards-based materials. So that would be things such as curriculum materials, supplemental materials, essentially anything that could be used in the classroom for the purpose of instruction and professional development. Looking at the area of school climate and primarily focusing on intervention and supports for students. One of the things that we'd be targeting in this part of the grants would be multi-tiered systems of support throughout our district. That would be things like behavioral supports, academic supports, and also supports to help families and students related to attendance. Working on continuing to increase the book collections that are both in our libraries and our classrooms, and then operational costs that may exist either to update facilities or anything else that might relate again to an instructional area. So my recommendation to the board would be based on the information I provided to approve at this time, just with the knowledge that the numbers that I've listed in the expenditure plan may not be the actual allocations we receive when we get that information later in the year.
Okay. Thank Go ahead. Yeah.
So if it's for music and stuff, but
Yeah.
in all those
stuff.
allegations, are any of those specific to?
Absolutely. So one of the things we do in our district, when we talk about music, when we talk about arts, we do consider them part of instruction.
Okay.
So the first, in the expenditure plan, that standards aligned area would encompass music and arts education also.
Okay.
We have some incredible art and music teachers who do a great job of making sure the work they're doing does align to standards. So it would have costs that would be associated to support those programs. And then in our operational costs, one of the things we would be looking at would be how could we support arts in a facility sense related to classrooms or other things in our district.
But it is one-time money, and it has to be spent by 2026. And so if we hire people
Yeah.
after that
Yeah.
time, we
Yeah.
have to find money to
Correct.
keep them
Find
hired.
money to
And,
keep it.
and that's a great comment. The purpose of this grant is more of a materials grant. Professional development materials would be the focus, whereas something like Prop 98, which is funding for arts, would be focusing more on staff.
Staff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move for the, a motion, please.
Also move.
Okay, Member Benjamin, and a second? Member Caputo, any further discussion on this? This great presentation. Thank you. Lot of work. Information. And let's move for the vote. Member Benjamin?
Aye.
Member Caputo? Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito?
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. The LCAP Planning Educational Partner Input Overview presented by Assistant Superintendent
So
Mark Halewood.
the last
Getting his work in.
the last update I'll be providing the board this evening, I promise it is the last one, would just be a very brief, I should probably stop using the word brief, would just be a quick update related to our LCAP planning, which in this case will focus on some of the steps we've taken towards collecting our input. That would be from staff, from parents, from the community, and our steps that would even include collecting input from our students. So here you can see some of the ways that we have kind of collected input in this LCAP development process, meeting with our parent advisory groups, meeting with Mr. McCowan and I, visiting each of our school sites, collecting input directly from our staff, providing our staff and parents and our community with an online survey where they can provide input through different questions and then also open feedback, hosting LCAP community input sessions where people could come in person or attend via Zoom to hear a presentation and then give feedback directly to myself and our district cabinet. Local indicator meetings, which myself and our district cabinet have taken with each principal in our district just to review local data and where we are in terms of the metrics we use in the LCAP. And then some of the items that we'll be moving forward with is collecting student input for the LCAP and then climate surveys that will be taking place at the secondary level. For each of our LCAP goals, I'd just like to give you a brief snapshot of our survey data that we've collected so far. This is not all of the questions and all of the responses, but it just gives you an idea of some of the data that we're starting to look at. For our LCAP Goal 1, which is every student is actively engaged in learning, feels safe, and demonstrates good citizenship, here are a couple of the questions and the percentage of our staff and parents who strongly agree and agree. And I won't read them, but you could see, for the most part, our responses were very favorable. I did see some really great feedback in terms of our parents related to how we're using the resources and materials we have. In our open input and feedback, that would be where there was a question that someone could answer or information that was shared in person. Some of the items that came up that we're doing great with and then mostly just continue to improve on would be counseling and supports, intervention and supports in academics, attendance and behavior, engagement and extension activities that our schools could be doing, such as bringing back the field trips, which we started to do this year, and more assemblies at our school sites to engage students. And then, that ongoing piece that's taking place really, again, throughout the nation at the moment regarding school safety. And I did see a lot of positives from parents in the community appreciating the steps we've taken, but also, asking us to continually move forward in that preparation. In LCAP Goal 2, my student receives high-quality instruction leading to academic achievement and physical fitness, successfully preparing them for college and career readiness. You can see a couple of the selections from the survey. Again, very favorable results. And in our open input and feedback areas, some of the items that were discussed were how are we utilizing the curriculum and materials that we currently do have, and how can we continue to grow them? The engaging activities and experiences that we're providing students with, how can we grow in the area of enrichment? And then some of the programs that we're doing related to college and career readiness, CTE pathways, things like A through G courses, and how we're continuing to grow them. There was a lot of positive feedback, and I think the best feedback is when someone says, you're doing a great job and we want more.
Oh, yeah.
And we definitely saw that.
Good.
In the last LCAP Goal 3, which would be the engagement and opportunities for input and decision-making. You can see, again, some samples of the questions that were asked. And then in the areas of open input and feedback, continuing to discuss how we're using our communication systems and tools such as Infinite Campus and the ability to provide parents and staff with notifications related to students and their grades and all of those bits of information. And then, again, I go back to you're doing a great job and we want more in terms of family engagement and activities such as family learning nights and those opportunities for parents to come into our schools, learn with their student and our staff on how they can best support at home outside of the school day. Here's just the timeline that I presented to the board in the past, where you can see the steps towards our LCAP development. We're currently kind of right in the middle there at April. And so when we come back to the board meeting in May, based on the analysis of all of this input that we've collected, I will be presenting to the board our first draft of our updated LCAP for next year.
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody might have at this time.
No. Anybody have questions?
How many, or how did you get the feedback from parents, or how many parents were asked, or do you know? Or?
Yeah, so
Great question.
as far as the input sessions we held, I think we're building back some strength in the idea of people coming to give us input.
Yeah.
I think that people liked that we asked, but not everybody came.
Right.
So we didn't have a lot of parents who attended those sessions, but the few that did, I think, had some great feedback for us. And then the survey would be where we had a lot more parent inputs. Still not at a high level, with less than 300 parents giving input through that survey. It was well dispersed throughout our school sites, so parents representing all the different school sites. But I think we would hope to continue to grow. And I think there is a little bit of getting back to this idea of parents knowing that we want to know what they think, and then demonstrating to them that we are using that feedback and we are taking action based on the feedback that we're receiving.
Cool, thanks.
And the survey's an online survey that?
Correct.
That's how that's, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for a lot of work you did. Great reports, thank you. Okay, moving forward into our Human Resources Division to approve a tentative district council calendar for school year 2023-2024 and 2024-2025. Do I have a motion? Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Being no discussion, go for the vote. Member Benjamin? Aye. Caputo? Aye. Kolb Senior is absent. Polito?
Aye.
And Stroh votes aye. Proposed new job description, Director of Transportation. Do I have a motion? Okay. And any discussion regarding this? Member Benjamin? Aye. Member Caputo? Aye. Members Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito?
Aye.
And Member Stroh votes aye. Declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Do I have a motion? A second?
I'll second.
And any discussion? No? Okay. Member Benjamin? Aye. Member Caputo? Aye. Member Kolb Senior is absent. Member Polito? Aye. And Member Stroh votes aye. We are going to now, we will go back into closed session. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, we'll do the advanced planning, but we're gonna go out and back in. So regular board meeting will be May 11th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the VCHS Media Center on Colgrade. And there will be a full day governance workshop for us, the board members, facilitated by Luann Rivera from CSBA on Tuesday, May 16th at the district office in P17 on Colgrade. Now, for adjournment, we are not going to adjourn at this time. We are going to go back into our closed session and we'll end our live stream at this time. We will return back to open session once we conclude our business in closed session to adjourn the meeting. Dismiss to close so we can quit. Thank you. Thanks. I had a question for you.